Hemingway grew up in a very devout evangelical family. Yet, there in that family, he never experienced the grace of Christ. He lived a playboy, licentious life that most of us would call immoral. But there was no father, no parent waiting for him, and he sank into the mire of graceless depression. In Ernest Hemingway's short story, Capital of the World, a Spanish newspaper, El Liberal, carried a touching story about a father and his son. It went like this. A teenage boy, Paco, and his very wealthy father had a falling out. And the young man ran away from home. The father, of course, was crushed. And after a few days, he realized that the boy was serious. So the father set out to find him. He searched high and low for 5 months to no avail. And finally, in a last desperate attempt to find his son, the father put an ad in the Madrid newspaper. The ad read, "Dear Paco, meet me at the Hotel Montana at noon on Tuesday. All is forgiven. I love you. Signed, your father." On Tuesday, in the office of Hotel Montana, over 800 Pacos showed up, looking for love and forgiveness from their fathers. Brothers and sisters, what a magnet that ad was. Over 800 Pacos. And I say that to say this: we all hunger for pardon. We are all Pacos. Every one of us is a Paco, yearning to run and find a Father who will desperately declare to us, all is forgiven. On this fourth Sunday of Lent, it marks the midpoint in the Lenten celebration for Easter. And traditionally, today's Sunday is called Laetare Sunday, Rejoice Sunday. And this Sunday is set aside for all of us to recall God's graciousness and to rejoice because of God's graciousness. The psalmist says, "This is the day the Lord has made.
Let us be glad.
We rejoice in it and are glad."
Amen.
You see, in many ways, we have been dead. But through God's grace, we have come to life again. Amen. We have not been lost, but we have been found. No wonder one songwriter puts it nicely. He says, "Your grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment because of you. I want to thank you and praise you too." and mercy brought me through. Your grace and mercy. Things for today characterizes one of the many facets of Easter joy. In the first reading from the book of Joshua, we hear the people of God keeping the Passover on their entry into the promised land. The chosen people of God, they are portrayed as celebrating for the first time in their own land the feast of their freedom. And their joy is one of promises fulfilled. And in our responsorial psalm, it might be used as a response to all the three readings. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord. And in our second reading from Paul, writing to the church of Corinth, Paul joyfully proclaims the effect of Jesus' saving act as the reconciliation of all peoples to the Father. And in the gospel, the joy is that of a young son's coming home and rediscovering a father's forgiving and gratuitous love. Brothers and sisters, it's time to come home. It is also a story of a loving and forgiving father who celebrates the return of his prodigal son by throwing a big party in his honor. A banquet celebrating the reconciliation of the son with his father, his family, his community, and his God. But we must note that it is really the parable of the forgiving Father. The story of divine love and mercy for us sinners. A love that is almost beyond itself. And the common theme of joy resulting from reconciliation with God and other human beings is announced to all of us present in this church today. Because we are all an assembly of sinful people, ready to receive God's forgiveness and His personal presence as a forgiving God in the Holy Eucharist that we are celebrating. Yes. And so you and I, we need to accept the fact that we are all prodigal children who have squandered our Father's inheritance. The story is told of a young man who had left home, similar to the prodigal son. And he wrote his father a letter. Dear Dad, he says, I feel miserable because I have to keep writing for money. I feel ashamed and unhappy to have to ask for another 100 when every cell in my body rebels. I beg on bended knee that you forgive me, your son Marvin. Then at the end of the letter, he put a postscript. P.S. I felt so terrible. I ran after the mailman who picked this up in the box at the corner. I wanted to take the letter from him and burn it. I prayed that I could get it back, but it was too late. A few days later, Marvin received a letter from his father. It said, your prayers were answered. Your letter never came. And so, brothers and sisters, in this Jubilee year of mercy, in his announcement letter, the face of mercy, Pope Francis warns us, especially those of us who say we are religious people. He says, beware of being the elder son. seemingly faithful for years, the elder son contemptuously dismisses as slavery what his father thought was a loving collaboration. Note what he says. All these years I have slaved for you, and you never even give me a kid